If you have an area of expertise, like if there's something that you know how to do, maybe something that you learned or figured out for yourself, or something that you were trained in, then you have an asset that you can use to make money online and create freedom for yourself because you can actually take that expertise and turn it into an online course. And that, my friends, is a wonderful way to not only share what you know, but bring it to a wider audience and help people anywhere in the world. But it's also a way that you can make money online, no matter where you are or what else you have got going on in your life. So, whether you already have a business or not, creating an online course is something that anyone can do. But I completely understand that the process of creating a course can feel very daunting. Where do you start? How do you choose the right course idea? What tech pieces will you need? And how will you build it? How do you sell it? Well, today I have a guest with me who is going to answer all of these questions and many more. So, Melissa Guller is a course creation expert and the founder of Wit and Wire, where she helps business owners to expand their income and impact by selling top rated online courses. Now, previously, Melissa worked full time for Ramit Sethi and Teachable, and she's a top rated instructor at General Assembly NYC and online at Skillshare. So, Melissa has become a sought after speaker and educator in the course creation industry. And today, you're going to get to sit in with me as I pick Melissa's brain about how to create online courses. So, let's dive in. Well, hey, Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you here too. And I just cannot wait to get into everything with you because we are going to be talking about building online courses. And not only is this, one of my favorite things to do myself, but of course, it's a great way for people to really help others, share their expertise, and really make a difference in the world. But it's also a terrific way to make money online in a really leveraged and even passive way, which is just amazing, I think, for people who are interested in creating more freedom for themselves and maybe building another stream of income and just improving their financial well-being, which in my opinion is actually a key part of wellness in general. But I'm curious, Melissa, I'd love to hear how did you get into this line of work? Tell us a little bit about how you got into the business of helping people create online courses.
I think my journey is a little unique because I was behind the scenes in the course industry for years before I started my own business. So I had the privilege to work for Ramit Sethi. He ran an 8-figure course team, and I was his team's senior launch manager. And it was just so eye-opening, not only to see what we were doing as a business, but just to see how he was able to help others create this lifestyle of earning money online in a way that was authentic and real. And I'm the first to say, I really didn't believe that was possible before. I mean, before the pandemic, nobody ever knew what I did for work. That was kind of the running joke amongst my friends and family. But I think
Yeah.
working for Ramit opened my eyes to these possibilities to sell courses online. And then I was poached by Teachable, the software company, and I worked there for 4 years. And that's a totally different lens on the industry, where now instead of working for one successful course creator, I got to see what all of these different course creators were doing and the diverse ways that they were building up their own businesses and really making a life for themselves and for their families, doing work that they really enjoyed. And so that ultimately led me to start my own business, Wit and Wire, where I could help people create and sell their own online courses. And so now I've gotten to take that expertise from different parts of my full-time career, either in marketing or in course creation or even teaching live. And it just all kind of came together to do what I love best, which is to teach and to help others. So I feel very grateful to do what I do. And I really love to empower more people to learn about courses to see what it can do for their businesses.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that you had all of those different experiences coming together. So you saw it from all different angles, like what it meant to create online courses, how they're built, what works, what doesn't work, what does it do for you, all that stuff, and then brought it to your own business to actually help people to do that process. So I love that. That's so cool. There must have been just so many things that you learned throughout all of those experiences. So, okay, let's talk about online courses in detail. I want to start by asking you, who is a good candidate for creating an online course? Who does this approach work for?
I think for business owners, there's a good almost tipping point where as you start to work with people one-on-one, you may start to notice that you're repeating the process. You're almost creating this signature method without knowing that's what you're doing. And so, even after you've worked with a pretty small number of clients, it's a misconception that you need a huge audience or this big established business to be a course creator. Even after you've got the makings of a system and even just proof that you've validated that people want to pay you to reach that goal, you've already got a good inkling that there's a course idea in there. Because a course is really just a systematized way to help a client reach a goal without as much involvement from you. So I think that that's one little green flag. Another could be if people just ask you the same questions regularly. People always want to know how you did something. How did you maybe like lose the weight for yourself? How did you get into shape? How did you do that? People will ask you. And the more people want to know about your process, the more you could start to think, there could be a course here. So it's way less to do with your audience size and much more to do with an area of expertise or even a process that you might not have even realized that you've been developing.
That is so good to hear because I think that a lot of people do have that. I've certainly heard that too, is like that you feel like you have to have an enormous audience, a huge platform, a huge base already before you can create a course. But you're right. Like, even, I mean, for most people, even just starting to work with those first few people or even just interacting with your ideal clients and your community, you get to sort of hear the things that the things that they want to achieve, and then working through your process with them, really, like, it's just not that big of a leap to then systematize it, like you say. So I love that. Okay, so there's lots of people. You don't have to have heaps of experience. You don't have to be the world's foremost expert in something before you actually create a course. I mean, talk to me about signature courses, because this term gets thrown around a lot. What's the difference between like an online course, a signature course? Like, what does that exactly mean? And who is considering creating a signature course? Like, what would that mean for somebody?
I'm sure there are probably different definitions, but the way that I've used it and see it most commonly used is that a signature course is almost a parallel to a service that you might have offered and typically takes about 1 to 3 months for that buyer, the student, to complete it. Because I think the essence of a signature course is that there's some kind of meaningful transformation that you're helping them go through. So, an example of maybe a regular online course could just be how to draw in Procreate, an app. Those are just a set of skills. You're not helping somebody create like a meaningful life transformation. But if you're helping somebody get a job as a graphic designer, that's a signature course because there's a method. It's probably going to take some process that's in a few different phases, maybe to learn the skills, then to get the job. So it doesn't have to be related to careers, but hopefully that's a good distinction. And I would say it's also about what you want to be known for. Like if you want to become the person who's known for a certain meditation method, or for me, I help people create and sell online courses. These are things that I want to be known for. And so when I package them as a course, you're putting kind of like a stake in the ground as the authority figure in that area. And I think that it's far easier to build a business by scaling one or even a few signature courses that provide meaningful results rather than going with like the course library model of 12 or 20 different courses, because any course you create needs a marketing strategy, it needs a plan. And any good course, I think, one that gets testimonials and works, it definitely takes some effort, some energy. And so I think it's better to kind of, for wellness reasons and for my own mental health, I think it's far better to focus on quality over quantity when it comes to course creation. And that's why I think signature courses can be so powerful.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like the do less but better kind of approach of like really just owning who you are on in the marketplace, and what you can really powerfully help people with is going to get people better results, and it's going to be more satisfying for you because you're really living in that zone of genius, like what you really want to be known for. So, okay, and so that's the headspace of creating a signature course versus just like a regular online course, which might be like maybe just teaching one little thing or like one element or a piece of something, but the signature course is like the whole enchilada, right?
It's like transformation versus skills. How is somebody's life going to be different? What's like the point A to point B that you're going to help them get to versus just what is a skill set that they might develop? So I think that could be a helpful framework too.
I like that. Yeah. So a signature course, really, you're helping to actually change their life. Like it's a total transformation in some area, and that area could be very specific. But you're creating transformation versus just teaching a course where you're teaching them how to use something or do something or like a skill. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
That makes sense. I love that. Okay, and so what you've seen is that people can actually build scalable, profitable businesses by having even just one signature course, or like a small handful, or like even two, or like tell me about that in terms of how it could translate into an actual business model.
I think this is such an important question because I do think this is the misconception of the online course world. The misconception is the way to earn more revenue is to release more courses. But when I was working at Teachable, I was talking with a lot of very successful 6, 7, 8 figure business owners. And a lot of them have either just one signature course, or maybe I like to think of them in paths. So maybe they have a signature offer. Let's say it could be something from $500 to $2,000. For some of them, it's even higher. Think about how much work goes into making a course that is so effective that you just continue to get raving testimonials. I mean, I think that's really what makes good courses stand apart because, as sad as this makes me to say, a lot of course creators have been taught how to sell, but they haven't been taught how to teach. And so that's one area I really focus on a lot, is just asking, how can I help people get outcomes? And so if you've done all that work to find a profitable idea, to help people get results, to really make good curriculum, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. And if your students find success, they're going to want to tell other students, they're going to refer you. That course is going to continue to grow because it works. And so, in order for you to build your revenue, usually the fastest path to do that is to build one effective signature course and then focus on expanding your audience to drive more people into that proven funnel. So, once the course is up, it's what I call in the automate stage of growth rather than like the validate stage. Once you're in that mode, then you can expand your organic reach. You can do more partnerships. You can explore paid. Those are the big three when it comes to marketing. And now all of that energy is going towards funneling traffic into a course that you know converts and that you know works. So there are countless business owners who are success stories and examples of this one signature course model, maybe two. Maybe there's some nuances in there, but I really think that that's a good takeaway for listeners to get today. It really just takes one course to build a business that can scale.
Yeah, I think that is a really important point, because you're right. I think that that the impulse might be like you create a course and it's kind of like, oh, it's successful-ish. Like some people are buying it. It seems like it's working. Great. Let me go and create another one of those so that I can then just like double my revenue, because now I'll have two courses, and then let's just keep going down that road. But what your approach that you're talking about is really just going deep with that one course and really driving more traffic to it, and optimizing it, as opposed to like trying to sprinkle yourself out and create a bunch of other mini courses.
Exactly. And maybe over time, your audience tells you that they do need another course. Like at Wit and Wire currently, I have 2 signature courses, but one is to get started with a new course. And the next is, okay, well, I already have that. Now I'm ready to scale. So there is still like a linear path for one buyer who I love to work with. And so I'm not saying, oh no, everyone only gets one course. There's a maximum. But I think even just spacing out in your mind how long you might focus on one course is another helpful mentality. Like maybe even for a year, you focus on a signature course. You enroll your first students, you get their feedback, you kind of iron out the kinks, you elevate the experience. Maybe you do a second enrollment. Just by focusing on the quality over quantity approach, I think that's how you can, again, create a really good, effective course that works. And then as you start to tell people about it, your students tell people about it, you get out there, you do partnerships. Let's say you go on podcasts, you talk about it. Now you're building this long-term ecosystem of all of these different legs that drive back to that one course that you're really proud of, that you know gets amazing results for your audience. So I really just think the whole thing comes down to quality over quantity.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I think that it's such a great approach. A couple minutes ago, you mentioned about finding a profitable idea. So I think that probably, people are in the pre-course creation stage and they're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to create my first course about? How can you test your idea to see if it's going to be profitable? Because like you mentioned, it can be quite a bit of work to create a course. So how do you make sure that you're actually going in the right direction before you even start?
To me, this is like the biggest part of course creation is finding the profitable idea.
Mm.
There's actually this principle from the world of direct response copywriting, the 40-40-20 rule. So when somebody makes a buying decision, 40% of their decision is, are they in the right audience? 40% is, are they interested in the offer? And it's only the last 20% that includes things like the design, the creative, the words that you pick.
Mm.
So to do the math for my non-mathy friends, basically it's just 80% of their decision is, do they want the thing you're selling, and are
Yeah.
they the right audience for it? So if you can find that profitable idea, what I find reassuring is now knowing you don't need to be a master marketer. You don't need to be the world's best copywriter. If you can find that profitable idea, you will eventually find success building up that audience because you're selling something people actually want. So, when it comes to choosing a profitable idea, there are a few ways you can validate demand. If you're a service provider, you're working with clients one on one, that's already, I think, one of the best ways because you're already getting paid to help people reach that outcome. And so, whether you package it as a service or a course, you've already got that inkling that you're on to something. So, that's the best way. But if you've not previously sold a course on that topic, you can look in a few places. First, you can look at competitors. And often that's a tough thing to do. You look out there, you see somebody bigger than you who already has a course on that topic. So easy to say, well, I guess that's already taken. But even though it's tough, we have to see that as validation. If people are buying a course on that outcome from somebody else, that means there's a good chance people will buy from you and they'll prefer yours because of your personality, of who you are, of your approach. Like each of us has something special to bring to the table. So I wouldn't let competition sway you. But honestly, the other area of validation, which is a little intimidating, is that the best way to find out if it'll sell is to sell it. And so
Right.
in course creation, it's very tempting to stay behind the scenes, do your development, outline your course, make all of the videos, build the whole thing, and then sell it once it's perfect, polished, and finished. But then if you put it out there and nobody buys,
Mm,
that's going to be such a massive, I would say, like loss of time and energy.
definitely.
So instead, the strategy I recommend, which is what I've seen lots of successful creators do, it's not something I invented, but it's usually called either running a beta round or pre selling it, which can sound kind of daunting. But the way I approach it, you just kind of create the first week or two of your curriculum. You have a full plan for the course,
Mhm.
you're not flying blind, but then it's really important to get your offer out there sooner. And then the way I see it, I'm getting paid to develop the curriculum. And that way, if nobody buys, that's okay. There are ways you can troubleshoot. Maybe not enough people saw the offer. Maybe the price point is off. Maybe it's just a slight positioning tweak. It's usually something small and fixable. Then you can go back, fix that one thing, put the offer out there again until you get something that does stick, that does sell. So, scary as it is to say, the best validation trick in the book is to see if people will pay you.
Yeah, I think that this is so true. And because, I mean, you can certainly do market research ahead of time and talk to your audience and talk to people and say, would this be something that you're interested in? And people will sometimes say yes, and, for all kinds of different reasons. But there's nothing quite like actually saying, okay, here it is for sale, and then having people actually pay for it. So I think you're right. Like that's the ultimate validation, but totally scary for somebody who hasn't created a course to actually take money from people for something that they haven't actually created yet. So can you just walk us through that? So you said create the first week, but then like what's the process from there for somebody who is pre-selling something? Like what have you seen work well for people that you've helped do this?
Truly, the best piece of advice is to be transparent. So, when you're running the first version of a course, I usually call it a founder's round, you would put the offer out there and say, I am opening enrollment for a brand new program. I'm really excited about it. It's going to start on this date. That week, you're going to get either 1 week's worth of videos with an assignment, or some people choose to teach their founders round live. So maybe they're joining you live on Zoom and they're getting the recordings. So when they make the purchase, the key is just that they know they're not immediately getting access to a full vault of videos. And so as long as you're transparent and upfront about it, and as long as you have space on your calendar to create and deliver weekly what you've promised, I think that's really the best way to treat people because nobody's going to feel blindsided when you told them exactly what you were selling.
Yeah, I agree. I think transparency is everything, and instead of trying to pretend that it's a completed course, like just be upfront about it. Like this is something that's in development, and calling it something like you used the phrase "founders round," right? Or is that what you thought? Was that what you called it? Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. I mean,
And what's crazy is that people like to be founders. So
right.
often there are people in your audience who are going to want to be first. And usually there are certain levers you can pull where maybe they're getting a little more access to you. Maybe that's something you're not going to do long term, but
Mhm.
that's going to increase the appeal of joining it in the first round. And they'll know once the course is built out, they're going to get access to what it'll look like in the future. But you're going to have people in your audience who are going to want that round. And so if you tell them, hey, it's new, more access to me, I'm going to be more involved, you're going to get more testimonials because you're really in it with them, it's going to be a huge draw. So I think we maybe overestimate ourselves or but we overestimate's the wrong word. We
Mm.
don't think people will want it because it's new. Almost like we have to pretend as though we've never started something new and we have to have like perfectly created products at all times.
Yeah.
But that's not what your audience needs. They need you to be helpful. And my best comparison is maybe with a service that you offer. When you book a client, you don't show up at the first meeting with like a series of videos that they're going to watch. You show up, you have a kickoff or an onboarding meeting, most likely. You get to know each other, you figure out the scope of the project, you work together. And often they're thrilled by the end because you're really taking that extra step to over deliver. Same thing with this course. You're telling them up front, here's my promise to you. I'm going to deliver content on a weekly basis. We're going to work together. I'm going to be by your side. And a lot of people will really want to join you for that experience.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good comparison and absolutely right. Like really helps to reframe that feeling that we have to be. I mean, it's a sort of a perfectionism thing too, right? Is that we have to have all of our ducks in a row and have it be absolutely perfect and polished before we can even think about talking to other people about it. So yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. You just need one duck. You don't need all the ducks, just the one.
Exactly. Just one duck and you're good to go. Yes.
Exactly.
I know that tech holds a lot of people back from creating an online course. Like I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, I'd love to create a course, but I don't know how to do it. I'm not tech savvy. I don't know the first thing. So I'm just going to kind of like think about it then. So can you talk us through the essentials of this, the tech side of things, just to help to kind of demystify the process of building an online course?
Yes. So I teach something in my programs. I call it the 6 C's of course creation. This is not about specific tools. This is just about the types of tools that you'll need to create a course because I think it makes it sound a lot less scary.
Yeah,
So the
definitely.
first C is curriculum. If you were teaching in person, you would show up. Maybe you would have slides to teach from. That's the number one format for online courses as well. So, curriculum includes anything that shares your knowledge with your students. So,
Mm.
imagine creating some slides in any tool you're already comfortable with. Maybe you have some resources like PDFs for some people. I prefer Google Docs since that's how I like to work.
Mhm.
So, I'll use those to create my own materials, my curriculum. And then this also includes video. I mentioned before, for a course long term, you're going to create pre recorded videos. You're going to upload those video files. But maybe the first round you choose to teach live over something like Zoom to even kind of lessen the tech burden if that feels like it's less scary for you.
Yeah.
But even just recording a screen share video on your computer, you don't need anything specialized. You plug in a microphone, you can even just use a basic webcam, and then you can share your screen and record yourself, maybe your face in the corner. There are tons of great tools that do that. We can talk about specifics, but all of that is very doable, even just from the comfort of your home. Not a ton of tech expertise required.
Mhm.
Now, I bring up the video because the second C is your classroom. And I think this distinction is already going to help hopefully demystify the process. There are tools called online course platforms. I used to work for Teachable. That's
Mhm.
just one example. Tons of great options out there. And your classroom tool helps you create the space where your students log in, where they access the course, where they go through it lesson by lesson. It's also typically the place where you process payments. And what is so important to know about these course platforms is that none of them create curriculum. None of them create slides. None of them create resources. None of them have like a video record button. So you're going to create curriculum independently, and then you're going to upload it. You're going to drag and drop video files into this course creation platform in
Mhm.
order to build the experience that your students will go through. So those are the 2 main C's.
Mhm.
The other 4 are a bit quicker to chat about. So the third one is community. This is an optional element for courses, and courses of a certain audience or price point might benefit by having the peers in the course connect with each other. So that's one option to consider, not required. Then we have the fourth C, which is communication. How are you going to share information with your students? Typically, sending out things like emails using a tool called an email service provider is the most common. Things like a welcome email, maybe a weekly assignment email for the first round. That's the most common approach.
Mhm.
Then we have the fifth C, critique. Again, very optional, but do you want to provide feedback to your students? Are they going to be able to submit work to you and then hear back? Maybe it's something you do in the beginning and then you phase out, or maybe for courses of a certain price point, this matters. And then the sixth and final C is conversion. How will prospects learn about the course and then actually be able to pay you to enroll? Things like a sales page and a checkout page are the 2 most common parts of the process. So, just by thinking about that overall tech stack, you might choose the strategy of an all in one platform, which can do everything except for that curriculum bit at the beginning. That's always going to be your own slides, your own documents.
Right.
You might also choose to have a tech stack of a couple of tools that can do that for you. So we'll share a resource in the show notes with some specific recommendations. But hopefully, a takeaway is just that if you can create slides, if you can hit a record button on your computer, and if you can drag and drop in files, that's really the maximum amount of tech expertise needed to create a course. Don't need expensive equipment, don't need a fancy studio, you don't need exceptional editing skills. I think that those are all misconceptions in the course world. I think that it's much more doable for a lot more business owners than they might realize.
Yeah, that was perfect. I mean, that was like a masterclass in on just the basics of like what pieces do you need, and that really helps. I'm hoping that for people listening or watching, like that just helps to break it down and makes it feel okay, it's completely doable because all of those pieces individually you can handle, and so then it's just a matter of bringing them all together. So yeah, if you have resources like specific suggestions for tech, platforms or whatever for each of those, if you can, we'll include those in the show notes because that would be just so great to give people like just a starting point, because it can, but all together can feel very intimidating and overwhelming. Like there's so many things, but really if you just break it down into no, I just need a solution for this piece and for this piece. And, a lot of people, if you've already been running a business, then you might have some of that stuff already, like have an email service provider, a way to communicate with your clients already. So, you've got that sorted out. And then it's just adding a few additional pieces. But yeah, I mean, it really, there's so many amazing easy ways of like tech solutions for all of this stuff that it really does not need to be the barrier, in my opinion, to creating a course.
I agree. And I think another big hesitation is that people are worried about how long it takes to create a course.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've been talking about, when you release this first version, your founders round, it'll be 1 week at a time. You'll be working alongside your students. So I think that that also helps kind of break up the process because you don't have to sit down and record like 40 videos in one sitting. That is
Yeah.
not how the course building experience is going to look. Instead, it's more about just saying, okay, here's my outline for my course. I know where I'm going. I've got a plan. And then you just sit down and maybe you create slides and videos for just the first week. And then you just go on a week by week basis. So if you can create slides, even very simple ones, you also don't need fancy graphic design experience. I just think that a lot of those things often hold people back. And ultimately, what people want and need is your knowledge. They do not need you to be the world's best graphic designer. They don't need you to be in a big, expensive studio. So, again, just thinking about the people you've helped one to one, I'm guessing a lot of us have just gotten on Zoom calls and just chatted with people. And that was so valuable. And you've helped people make big changes in their lives. And same thing with the course. For some reason, it feels bigger and more permanent, but that's ultimately not what people need. They just need the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. I like that impulse to just, make it simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. They don't need you to have created like something super fancy and slick and polished. Really, they're just looking for the information. They're looking for the guidance. They're looking for that transformation. And that's something that you can definitely provide in a really simple, straightforward way. So yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen new course creators make when it comes to like selling and marketing their courses? What are some things that you've seen where people have gone a bit wrong?
The biggest one we did hint at, and it's just about choosing the wrong idea. Like too often when I've worked with business owners or I've seen different course creators, they are wondering why their marketing isn't working. They're putting out this course, they've already made the second mistake building the whole thing before they sold it. We already talked about that
Yeah.
one. But let's say they didn't do that. Let's say they're putting their offer out there. They always talk about, oh, if only our marketing was stronger, if only the copywriting was stronger. But usually it's the offer itself that isn't converting. And I think my best tip there is that you want to make sure that you're combining the specific strategy, the action plan, with something that people already want. We cannot create desire in people. They're
Right.
already out there with existing desires. So if you can figure out what is the change that your audience wants to make, where are they now versus where do they look into the future and see themselves? What is that gap between where they are today and where they want to be? And if you can position your course as a solution to reach that outcome, that's where you're really going to be onto something. So I think this big mistake about like really investing in big marketing events, big webinars, big paid ad spend, big campaigns. To me, that's a huge mistake to do upfront. Because if you do all of those things, you run this big snazzy webinar and then you don't make any sales, how will you know if it was the webinar that didn't work or the offer itself?
True. Hmm.
Usually it's going to be the offer.
Mm.
So that's why when I work with course creators, usually in the beginning, you kind of pare down those strategies. You opt for a much more straightforward approach. We've talked about it before. Just the transparency. Hey, here's this new program. Here's what I'm up to. If this sounds like a fit, I would love to have you. People respond really well to that. And that way you can validate demand first. And then in the future, you can add in those marketing events, those big campaigns to pour energy in a direction that you already know is profitable.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And I just love like what you said about we can't create desire in people. And it's so true. I mean, this is not just for online courses, but for anything where with marketing is like really if you find yourself in the space where you're trying to convince people why they should want this, you're in the wrong space. Like ideally you want people to already want it. You want them to already want the goal, the achievement, the transformation, the change, whatever it is that you're offering. And then this is like the perfect solution. So they're already there. They're already wanting it. And so I love though that you're really promoting like just keep it simple in the beginning. Don't depend on some big shiny event to sell a course that's just not been validated yet. That really there's not any proven market demand for. I mean, you can do those big events later, right? Like I'm sure. Have you seen course creators like use
Exactly.
those to
The
scale?
mistake isn't using them. The
Yeah.
mistake is using them too soon. They are great strategies. Paid ads, webinar. These are amazing, effective strategies for course builders. The problem is just that they're not the right strategy for a brand new, untested course. So just save those for a little later on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. I've heard some people like, kind of waffling between offering a course or creating a membership, like a monthly membership. I know that this is something that sometimes people are trying to decide between those two directions to go. What would you say in terms of how can people decide if offering a course is for them or offering a membership is maybe a better fit for them?
It's such a tough call. And I think now more than ever, the lines have been blurred a little bit
Mm,
between what we used to imagine as a membership and what we now kind of see as a membership or a course, because some courses have communities and then some memberships have courses. So there's a bit more of a blur. Usually, the way that I decide if something is a membership or a community is to ask myself, is this something that my buyer is going to do on an ongoing basis, or is it a project with an end date?
mm,
So, an example could be social media management. That's something that business owners do regularly. So, a membership makes sense because it's something that they're going to consistently do as part of their monthly, weekly, if not daily routine. But then on the other hand, if you're helping somebody maybe launch a new YouTube channel, let's kind of stay in the world of marketing, that by itself is a project. There will be a clear end date where they will hit the goal. And so a membership isn't going to make sense because there will come a natural point in time where they're not going to need to continue paying you on an ongoing basis. So I think if you put yourself in your buyer's shoes, ask yourself, is this something my buyer needs consistently? Or is this a project that has a clear end date? And that's usually my best gauge between if I go in the course direction or the membership direction.
that's a good framework to use, like to help you just decide if that makes sense for you or not. So this has just been so great, Melissa. Like there's just so many terrific, just points and ways of thinking about this for people who are, maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or really just aren't sure if this is right for them or intrigued by it, but feeling daunted by the scope of the project. And I just love how you've been able to break it down and make it really doable and approachable for people because it can be such a powerful thing to take your expertise, like to take what's in your head and turn it into a way of sharing that with other people, right? Like it's such a beautiful thing. So yeah, now before I let you go though, tell us where people can go to learn more about you and connect with you.
You can find me anywhere at Wit and Wire. I'm mostly on YouTube. And I also do have the free guide that I promised, which has the side by side comparison of the course platforms and all the tools that go with it. So you can download that at witandwire.com/course toolkit. So we'll put a link, I'm sure, in the show notes. But for anybody who is interested in course creation, I'd love to see how I can help.
Awesome. That's great. Yes, I will definitely put those links in the show notes to make it nice and easy for people. Yes, thank you so much, Melissa. This has just been so great.
Thank you for having me. And then to give you a little bit of credit,
Hmm.
one thing you shared to maybe wrap out our episode is the fact that courses have really given me a sense of freedom and ease in my business because they've helped me stop just trading my time for income and given me a second revenue stream that lets me scale in a whole new way where I can make a big impact and help more people. But it's in such a different way. I have more freedom over my time because I'm not constantly in client meetings. I'm able to help people. That's still very personal in a world that is consistently becoming more like AI and automated. So I think courses are just this really sweet spot where you are getting to work with individuals and real humans and to make an impact, but it's at a scale far bigger than the income cap you put on yourself as only a service provider. So I hope that that inspires some people to consider maybe how courses could help add a little ease to their own business strategy too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about ease and leveraging your time in this way is just such a good thing because yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and you can love working with clients one on one, or a group, or whatever it is that you're doing that takes your actual active time, participation, energy. But even to just build out a second stream of income with a course, it's going to be at a different price point too, so that will serve perhaps a different segment of the market, and but just create that extra bit of freedom for you. It's just such an awesome thing. So yes, I agree. I hope that we've converted to some people who are or inspired some people who are thinking about it, into taking the first step into building a course. So I hope that you enjoyed sitting in on my conversation with Melissa. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything that we talked about. And I'm really curious, have you thought about creating an online course? Do you have an idea for a course? I would love to hear about it. If you're watching on YouTube, then just drop me a comment below this video. Or if you're listening to the audio of this episode, then find me on Instagram and go ahead and let me know. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to continue the conversation. Okay, that's a wrap for today. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you again very soon.